My mother, Loretta Young, did Call of the Wild. Well, the first time I knew who my father was, I was 23.
Ever thought you had it rough as a child? You might want to think again. Today we're shining the light on the life stories of illicit love children in old Hollywood history.
Gypsy Rose Lee and her 12-year-old son, Eric, live in this large house on the fashionable east side of New York when they're not touring the country with Miss Lee's current act. Gypsy, what do you do with your spare time when you're on the road?
Oh, I fish.
Fish?
Yes.
7. Eric Lee Preminger. Eric Lee Preminger is just one of the most controversial yet confirmed examples of a high-profile love child born out of a clandestine relationship during Hollywood's golden age. His mother, Gypsy Rose Lee, the famous burlesque performer now tagged the most controversial in history, had an affair with Otto Preminger, a celebrated Hollywood director known for his films like Laura in 1944 and Anatomy of a Murder in 1959. But of course, it is not so simple. Let's take a much deeper look at the circumstances and significance of Eric Lee Preminger's life story. What better place to begin than with the affair and pregnancy? And to do that, we must first understand Gypsy Rose Lee's star power. By the early 1940s, Gypsy Rose Lee was not only a burlesque star, but also a rising celebrity with forays into acting and writing. Also known for her wit and intellect, Gypsy Rose Lee was a multifaceted entertainer whose star power transcended the burlesque stage. Her success lay not only in her talent for performance, but also in her ability to reinvent herself and appeal to audiences across different entertainment mediums. She rose to fame in the 1930s as one of the most famous burlesque performers of her time. Her performances were distinctive because they combined elegance, humor, and a mastery of the art of striptease. Lee elevated the striptease from a risque act into a theatrical performance, infusing it with clever monologues and comedic timing. Unlike many of her contemporaries, her act appealed to both men and women because it relied on suggestion and intellect rather than overt sensuality. Her persona as an intelligent and sharp-tongued performer set her apart from other burlesque stars, thereby giving her an aura of sophistication rarely associated with this genre. Gypsy then leveraged her burlesque fame into a Hollywood career. Though not a prolific actress, she appeared in notable films like Stage Door Canteen in 1943 and Belle of the Yukon in 1944. These roles capitalized on her existing fame and showcased her charm and comedic talent. There was one challenge, though. Hollywood struggled to fully utilize her talents, as her provocative stage persona did not neatly fit into the studio system's archetypes for leading ladies. Thankfully, she was quite resourceful. Gypsy's 1957 memoir, Gypsy, a Memoir, became a bestseller and cemented her reputation as more than just a performer. The book offered a candid, witty, and entertaining look at her life and family, including her controlling mother and early days in vaudeville. The memoir went on to inspire the 1959 Broadway musical Gypsy. It remains one of the greatest American musicals of all time. The show immortalized her story and introduced her legacy to new generations. Gypsy was a frequent guest on talk shows and variety programs. She developed a second career as a television personality, often engaging in political and cultural discussions. One thing people particularly loved was how she often poked fun at her own image. We mean her success as a burlesque performer, author, and public figure positioned her as a feminist icon in retrospect. She redefined femininity by embracing sexuality on her own terms, challenging societal expectations of women during her time. She has also inspired generations of women in entertainment, showing that intelligence, humor, and sexuality could coexist in a single persona. But of course, somewhere in all of this was the business of her illicit love child. This is where Otto Preminger came in. He was married at the time of his affair with Gypsy Rose Lee. You can see this already had the makings of a well-publicized scandal. When Lee became pregnant in 1944, Preminger did not publicly acknowledge paternity, possibly due to the damage it could have caused his career and marriage. This brings us to the secrecy around Eric's birth. Eric was born in December 1944. Gypsy Rose Lee initially claimed the child's father was her husband at the time, William Alexander Kirkland, but this was later disproved. As a young boy, his mother's bohemian and unconventional lifestyle influenced his childhood, but her frequent absences also contributed to emotional struggles. The truth about Eric's parentage only became more widely known as he grew older. Yes, Eric learned the truth about his father's identity much later in life. Eric eventually connected with Otto Preminger, who acknowledged him privately but did not take on a traditional fatherly role. This lack of public acknowledgement reflects the era's stigma around illegitimacy and the need for discretion in Hollywood. Just like his mother, he channeled his feelings into writing. Eric chronicled his experiences in the 1984 memoir Gypsy and Me: At Home and on the Road with Gypsy Rose Lee. The book provides insights into his life as a child of two larger-than-life personalities, including the challenges of navigating his mother's fame and his complex relationship with his father. You can see how the story of Eric Lee Preminger exemplifies the hidden side of Hollywood's golden age, where relationships, pregnancies, and scandals were carefully managed to protect public images. Eric's story is unique in that he has used his experiences to craft his own identity, separate from the shadows of his famous parents, while also preserving their legacies. As you will see, his story is just one case that sheds light on how children of such unions often faced identity struggles and lacked full acknowledgement. Coming up next is a love child who was adopted by her own mother to throw off suspicions.
My mother, Loretta Young, did Call of the Wild. Well, the first time I knew who my father was, I was 23.
6. Judy Lewis. Judy Lewis grew up in the heart of Hollywood, but for a child so famous, you would think that everybody knew everything about her. Well, in truth, some suspected her scandalous origins, but Judy Lewis herself was none the wiser. Wondering what the story is? You see, Judy was raised under the belief that she was the adopted daughter of renowned actress Loretta Young, when in fact, she was her biological mother. But that is only half of it. A secret mother also meant she had a secret father, too. Judy's world eventually turned upside down when she discovered in adulthood that she was actually the love child of a one-time dalliance between Loretta Young and Clark Gable. The revelation, chronicled in her 1994 memoir Uncommon Knowledge, shook the foundations of Hollywood as it unraveled a story of secrecy and scandal. So let's back up to the beginning, shall we? Before becoming the host of the iconic TV anthology series The Loretta Young Show, Young was a rising star in her early 20s. She had already appeared in over 40 Hollywood films alongside legends such as Spencer Tracy and Jimmy Stewart. Now, one of her most memorable roles was alongside Clark Gable in the 1935 film Call of the Wild. Despite Gable's marriage to Rhea Langham and Loretta Young's strict Catholic upbringing, their undeniable chemistry led to a clandestine affair. As whispers of their relationship spread, Young's doctor intervened. He advised the studio that she needed a hiatus from filming due to a purported serious illness. This, of course, was a cover-up for the unexpected pregnancy. Following this covert delivery, Gable was reportedly informed through a telegram. Lewis's memoir explains that he tore it up and flushed it down the toilet. With no word from the father, Young then placed her newborn with temporary caregivers and eventually an orphanage. Months later, she orchestrated the adoption of her child at 19 months old. Despite the fabricated narrative presented to the public, skepticism prevailed in Hollywood circles. In fact, Lewis herself bore a striking resemblance to Gable. Anyone with eyes could see. Still, she had to endure a painful cosmetic procedure to conceal her distinctive telltale ears. Lewis did meet her father once, though. During her second year of college, Lewis returned home to an unexpected encounter. It was Clark Gable standing a few feet away from her. To add to her shock, her mother insisted that she talk to the unexpected visitor alone. Despite the awe-inspiring presence of the renowned movie star, Gable's questions about her schooling and life seemed natural to her at the time. According to Lewis, she spoke openly to him because she sensed an unspoken need for him to understand all he could about her. She also recounted the gentle kiss he placed on her forehead before leaving that day. Sadly, their paths never crossed again. As Lewis matured into an accomplished actor, producer, writer, and psychotherapist, she remained in the dark about the true motive behind Gable's visit until the age of 23. It started when she and her fiancé, Joe Tinney, were having a conversation about her parentage when he casually remarked, "It's common knowledge." Years later, after Gable's passing from a heart attack at 59 in 1960, Lewis finally persuaded her mother to disclose the long-guarded truth. Young finally confessed, and their relationship was eventually better for it because they were done with the secrets. During his lifetime, Clark Gable never publicly acknowledged Judy Lewis as the daughter he fathered with actress Loretta Young. Let's take this to the initial stage of the story. At the time, such a scandal could have severely damaged his career. This is probably why Young went to great lengths to conceal the pregnancy and orchestrate a secretive adoption to reclaim her own child. With regard to what Gable did or didn't say, it was silence on his part. He never publicly commented on Judy Lewis. He maintained silence, likely due to the stigma surrounding illegitimate children during Hollywood's golden age. The only form of private acknowledgement was the alleged encounter that Judy Lewis narrates in her memoir. During that encounter, he reportedly showed warmth but did not reveal his identity as her father. Remember, Lewis reflected that she felt an innate connection to him despite not knowing the full truth at the time. This means he was warm enough during the brief interaction. There have also been rumors that Gable was more into action than words. While Gable never claimed Judy publicly, some reports suggest he provided financial support to Loretta Young during her pregnancy and afterwards. However, this arrangement was likely discreetly handled, avoiding any public association. Clark Gable's decision to remain silent about Judy Lewis reflects the pressures and moral expectations of Hollywood in the 1930s and 1940s. While it shielded his image, it left a legacy of secrecy and heartbreak for his daughter, who sought acknowledgement and connection. It must have been difficult being a single mom early in life before her later marriages. Gable may have also felt incomplete in a sense. When Lewis wrote about her experiences in her memoir Uncommon Knowledge, she expressed both admiration for Gable and a sadness over his absence in her life.
I know what it comes with, but it's not what I want.
Well, I'll come back when you make up your mind.
Wait a minute. I have made up my mind. Cup of coffee.
5. Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson's life and career as an illicit Hollywood love child is a fascinating story of hidden identities, self-discovery, and the rise of an iconic actor. Born into a complicated family dynamic, Nicholson's early life was marked by secrecy about his parentage, a revelation that shaped his sense of self and influenced his legendary career. Sounds intriguing, right? Let's begin with his birth and early life. Jack Nicholson was born on April 22, 1937, in Neptune City, New Jersey. He grew up believing that his maternal grandparents, John and Ethel May Nicholson, were his parents, and that his mother, June Nicholson, was his older sister. Let's talk about June for a moment. Best known as a biological mother of Jack Nicholson, she led a short, complex, and relatively obscure life. However, she was also an aspiring showgirl. Her story is quite pivotal not only in understanding Jack Nicholson's origins, but also in reflecting the societal pressures and challenges faced by young women in the early 20th century. June Frances Nicholson was born in 1918 and grew up in the small town of Neptune City, New Jersey. She was the youngest daughter of John and Ethel May Nicholson. As you can imagine, she had a close but complicated relationship with her parents. June was an aspiring showgirl with ambitions of performing on stage. Her pursuit of a career in entertainment took her to New York City, where she briefly worked as a dancer. June became pregnant at 17, a significant scandal in the conservative 1930s. To avoid public disgrace, June's mother, Ethel May, stepped in to raise Jack as her own son, presenting June as Jack's older sister. This arrangement allowed June to continue her life without the stigma of being an unwed mother, a serious societal burden at the time. June's role as Jack's sister likely placed her in a difficult emotional position. While she remained in his life, she could not openly mother him, which may have affected her sense of identity and connection with her son. June Nicholson pursued a career in entertainment. However, her career was short-lived, likely due to financial constraints and societal expectations for women of her era. June's ambitions and missed opportunities to achieve stardom may have influenced Jack Nicholson's own drive for success in Hollywood. Her artistic aspirations became part of Jack's narrative as he carried forward the creative path she was unable to fully explore. While June Nicholson's life remained relatively obscure, her ambitions and sacrifices undoubtedly shaped her son's determination and resilience. Jack Nicholson's career as a boundary-pushing actor can be seen as a reflection of the unconventional and tumultuous circumstances of his upbringing. Jack Nicholson has expressed understanding and acceptance of the family secret, noting that while the truth was hidden, he never doubted the love and care he received from his family. His lack of bitterness suggests a deep appreciation for the sacrifices made by his mother and grandmother. But let us back up a bit. This is about Jack. Curious to see how he learned the truth? Get ready to be shocked. Like we mentioned earlier, June gave birth to Nicholson at 18 and out of wedlock. As you can imagine, this was grounds for significant stigma at the time. The identity of his biological father remains uncertain, though reports suggest he may have been a married man or a talent agent. Nicholson did not learn the truth about his parentage until 1974 when a Time magazine reporter uncovered it during an investigation. By then, both June and Ethel May had passed away, leaving Nicholson without the opportunity to talk to them about it. There is speculation about who his biological father was, with theories ranging from June's manager, Donald Furcillo, to other figures from her social circles. Nicholson has publicly stated that he is uncertain and uninterested in knowing the full truth. Discovering that his sister was his mother caused Nicholson to reassess his identity and relationships, and he publicly stated that the revelation did not cause him trauma. His life and work suggest a deeper exploration of themes like alienation, rebellion, and complex familial dynamics. Nicholson later reflected that his unconventional upbringing might have fueled his creativity and resilience, providing him with a unique perspective on life. Nicholson's lack of a traditional father figure may have contributed to the intensity and depth he brought to his roles, often portraying men grappling with authority, morality, and fractured relationships. Nicholson's career, much like his personal life, was marked by defiance of conventions. Starting as a B-movie actor in the 1950s, he struggled for years before his breakout role in the 1969 film Easy Rider. His ability to channel complex, often rebellious characters earned him some acclaim. We believe Nicholson's performances often reflected his own experiences of alienation and rebellion. In One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he was a man challenging authority in a psychiatric institution, reflecting Nicholson's own nonconformist tendencies. In The Shining, there was a psychological unraveling that might echo Nicholson's internal grappling with identity and familial secrets. In the 2006 film The Departed, he was a morally complex crime lord, embodying Nicholson's knack for exploring power and duplicity. Keen observers have over time highlighted the themes of illegitimacy and secrecy in his work. It really does look like Nicholson's life experience as a love child informed his art in subtle and profound ways. Many of his characters are outsiders or men grappling with internal and external secrets, perhaps reflecting his own journey. Nicholson's ability to portray flawed, multifaceted characters may stem from his early understanding of how appearances can mask deeper truths. The revelation about his mother may have given Nicholson a wellspring of emotions to draw upon, lending credibility to his portrayals of anguish, anger, and alienation. Nicholson later reflected that the secrecy and betrayal were less impactful than the realization of how much he was loved and cared for by his family, even under unconventional circumstances. Growing up in a chaotic and unconventional environment may have contributed to Nicholson's rebellious and free-spirited nature, traits that became central to his persona both on and off screen. It may be safe to say that all of this affected Nicholson's attitude toward family and relationships. Despite his successful career, Nicholson had struggled with maintaining stable personal relationships, which some have speculated may stem from his unconventional upbringing. Known for his charm and womanizing ways, Nicholson has fathered multiple children with different partners, often outside of traditional marital relationships. Despite his unconventional relationships, Nicholson has expressed a strong sense of love and responsibility toward his children, perhaps seeking to create a connection he lacked with his own father. Rather than being defined by the secrecy of his origins, Nicholson used his life story as a source of strength and individuality. His ability to channel personal complexities into his art solidified his reputation as one of the greatest actors of his generation, earning him 3 Academy Awards and a lasting influence on film. Looking back, one thing seems certain. The secrecy surrounding his birth contributed to the layers of mystery and complexity that have defined his persona. As an actor, he turned his unique perspective into a tool for portraying some of cinema's most memorable and multifaceted characters, cementing his legacy as a Hollywood legend.
From the rough cut last night at the circus. Would you like to do the link into the stems for the circus, or would you not like that?
What's that?
Well, we haven't shot anybody announcing around this house.
4. Michael Lindsay Hogg. Seen any of his videos? You definitely have, even though you don't know it yet. From the Beatles to the Rolling Stones, you will see that Lindsay Hogg has quite the portfolio. Michael Lindsay Hogg's life and career are deeply intertwined with the mystery of his parentage. It is a significant part of his identity that fueled speculation for decades. Born into the world of Hollywood glamour and privilege, Lindsay Hogg's journey as an artist and the rumored love child of legendary actor Orson Welles has shaped his life story so far. Michael Lindsay Hogg was born on May 5, 1940, to actress Geraldine Fitzgerald. She is an Academy Award-nominated star in films like 1939's Wuthering Heights. His supposed legal father was Sir Edward Lindsay Hogg, an aristocrat and army officer. Still, there was speculation that Orson Welles was Michael's biological father. These rumors began to swirl early on due to his mother's rumored affair with the director. So, who is Welles, and how did he come into this story? Orson Welles was an iconic and influential figure in the history of film, theater, and radio, widely regarded as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Renowned for his innovation, charisma, and larger-than-life personality, Welles's career spanned multiple artistic mediums and left an indelible mark on 20th century culture. George Orson Welles was born on May 6, 1915, in Kenosha, Wisconsin. His parents were musically and intellectually inclined, but he faced a turbulent childhood marked by their early deaths. Welles began his career in theater, quickly gaining recognition for his dramatic talent and directorial ingenuity. By his early 20s, he was a sensation in New York, co-founding the Mercury Theater with producer John Houseman. Welles became a household name with his infamous radio broadcast of the War of the Worlds, which simulated a Martian invasion. Its realistic format caused widespread panic and cemented Welles's reputation as a daring and innovative storyteller. Welles transitioned to Hollywood, where he revolutionized the film industry with his bold, unconventional style. Welles co-wrote, directed, produced, and starred in Citizen Kane, which is often considered the greatest film ever made. The film introduced groundbreaking techniques such as deep focus cinematography, non-linear storytelling, and innovative sound design. Although Citizen Kane was a commercial failure at the time, partly due to its controversial portrayal of media tycoon William Randolph Hearst, over time it has gained immense critical acclaim. Welles directed several other notable films, including The Magnificent Ambersons, The Lady from Shanghai, Touch of Evil, and Chimes at Midnight. Many of his projects faced studio interference, financial struggles, and limited release, but they remain revered for their artistic ambition. Welles was known for his magnetic personality, charm, and intellect. He was also infamous for his extravagance, stubbornness, and a tendency to clash with studio executives. Welles was married 3 times, including to actress Rita Hayworth, with whom he had a daughter. His relationships, both personal and professional, were often as dramatic as his films. Frustrated with Hollywood, Welles spent much of his later career working independently, often funding his own films and taking on acting roles to support his projects. Notably, Welles left several unfinished films, including The Other Side of the Wind, which was completed posthumously and released in 2018. Although he faced commercial and critical challenges during his lifetime, Welles received numerous accolades, including an Academy Honorary Award in 1971 for his contributions to cinema. Welles's work influenced countless filmmakers, from Stanley Kubrick to Martin Scorsese. His technical innovations and storytelling techniques continue to be studied and celebrated. Beyond film, Welles remains a symbol of creative genius, ambition, and the struggle between artistry and commerce. His larger-than-life persona has inspired books, documentaries, and fictionalized portrayals. Now, at some point, Welles and Fitzgerald had a close relationship during the late 1930s. The physical resemblance between Welles and Michael Lindsay Hogg was also a thing. It further fueled the rumors that he was an illicit love child. Despite the gossip, neither Wells nor Fitzgerald publicly confirmed the claim. Michael himself grappled with the mystery, addressing it in his 2011 memoir, Luck and Circumstance. DNA testing has since been inconclusive, thus leaving the question unresolved. The ambiguity surrounding his parentage had a profound effect on Lindsay Hogg. Growing up in the shadow of a Hollywood legend like Wells, even as a rumor, it brought both allure and a certain degree of pressure. In his memoir, he described the emotional toll of not knowing the truth about his origins. Lindsay Hogg's mother was an influential but often difficult figure in his life. Her decision to withhold definitive answers about his paternity contributed to a sense of detachment and lingering questions about his identity. Despite the personal problems, Michael Lindsay Hogg carved out a successful career as a director. He eventually made a name for himself in music, film, and television. He directed groundbreaking music videos and documentaries, including Let It Be in 1970, the Beatles' final film project. He was also the brains behind The Rock and Roll Circus in 1968, featuring the Rolling Stones. His innovative work helped define the visual style of rock music in the 1960s and 1970s. He also directed acclaimed TV adaptations of plays, such as Brideshead Revisited and several Broadway productions. Need any more proof of his versatility as a filmmaker? Lindsay Hogg's artistic inclinations, especially his interest in experimental storytelling and complex characters, have been linked to the influence of Wells. If the rumors are true, it's easy to see parallels between the two in their creative daring and resistance to convention. The possibility of being Orson Welles' son has remained a defining aspect of Lindsay Hogg's public persona. The resemblance in physical appearance and creative ambition has perpetuated the idea that Welles' genius may have been inherited. In Luck and Circumstance, Lindsay Hogg acknowledges the ambiguity and concludes that he identifies with Welles regardless of biological proof. He has embraced the idea of being a product of both Fitzgerald's artistry and Welles's larger-than-life legacy, even as an inspiration rather than a fact. Michael Lindsay Hogg's story reflects a broader trend in Hollywood during its golden age, where affairs, illegitimate children, and hidden paternity were carefully concealed to maintain public images. His story no doubt resonates with those of other love children who similarly grew up in the shadow of powerful but secretive Hollywood figures. Whether or not Orson Welles was his biological father, the possibility shaped Lindsay Hogg's identity and added depth to his work as an artist. 3. Allegra Houston. Writer, editor, and filmmaker Allegra Houston is a worthy mention. Born on August 26, 1964, her life has been deeply shaped by her unconventional upbringing and Hollywood lineage. She is the daughter of British aristocrat Lady Evelyn Elliot and film director John Huston. It might not sound like it yet, but her early life was defined by secrecy, shifting family dynamics, and her eventual discovery that she was the result of an affair. Allegra was raised believing that she was the daughter of John Huston, the legendary director of films like The Maltese Falcon in 1941 and The African Queen in 1951. The child came from his fourth wife, Lady Evelyn Elliot. However, they later learned that her biological father was someone else. Allegra Houston discovered the truth about her parentage in her mid-30s through a revelation from her half-sister, Angelica Houston. In a random, candid conversation, Angelica disclosed that Allegra's biological father was actually John Julius Norwich, a prominent British historian and aristocrat. The revelation came as a surprise to Allegra, as it contradicted the narrative she had grown up with. By this time, she was an adult and had already lived through a tumultuous upbringing, including the loss of her mother at a young age. Before this truth came to light, her upbringing was a blend of the glamour of Hollywood and the traditional aristocracy of Britain. She grew up surrounded by celebrities, including her half-brother Tony Houston and her half-sister Angelica Houston. Notably, both of her siblings were already entrenched in the world of entertainment. Sadly, Allegra's mother died in a car accident when she was just 4 years old, leaving her to be raised primarily by John Huston. The discovery of her true parentage later in life added another layer of complexity to her identity. Learning of her biological father as an adult created a sense of disorientation. Allegra wrote extensively about the impact of this revelation in her 2009 memoir, Love Child, a memoir of family lost and found. The book explores themes of belonging, identity, and the search for love and stability amid fractured family dynamics. Despite not being her biological father, John Huston played a significant role in her upbringing. He was a larger-than-life figure known for his eccentricities and domineering personality, which shaped Allegra's perception of family and authority. Allegra worked as an editor for Tatler magazine in London and later became an editorial director at Weidenfeld and Nicholson, a major publishing house. Her keen literary sensibilities allowed her to carve out a respected career in the world of books. Her memoir, Love Child, was a critical success. It was praised for its honesty, emotional depth, and exploration of a complex family history. The memoir gave Allegra a platform to share her unique story and shed light on the challenges of being an outsider within a famous family. As the half-sister of Angelica Huston, Allegra had to navigate living in the shadow of a prominent Hollywood family. While she respected the Huston legacy, she often felt like an outsider due to her uncertain place in the family tree. Rather than being defined by her parentage, Allegra forged her own path, focusing on storytelling and creating a personal narrative that embraced her complexities. Her ability to turn personal pain into art speaks to her strength and creativity. Allegra's memoir has resonated with readers who have experienced family secrets and struggles with identity. It's a universal story told through the lens of an extraordinary life. While Allegra's connection to the Huston family adds a layer of intrigue to her story, her accomplishments as a writer and filmmaker stand on their own. She really did prove that she could succeed on her own terms. But what about her real parentage? Who was John Julius Norwich? Her biological father, Norwich, was a renowned British historian, author, and television personality. Born John Julius Cooper, he was the second Viscount Norwich, and it was a title he inherited from his father, Duff Cooper, who was a prominent diplomat and politician. Known for his charm, intellect, and wit, Norwich became one of the most celebrated popular historians of his time. Born on September 15, 1929, to Duff Cooper and Lady Diana Manners, who was a celebrated socialite and actress of the time. His parents were key figures in British society, with his father serving as a diplomat and his mother as a prominent hostess during the interwar years. He attended Eton College and later studied at the University of Oxford. There, he developed a lifelong passion for history. Norwich was best known for his accessible and engaging historical works, particularly on topics related to the Byzantine Empire, Venice, and medieval history. His books often blended scholarly research with a flair for storytelling, making complex stories enjoyable for general readers. A History of Venice, published in 1982, is one of his most celebrated works, offering a detailed account of the rise and fall of the Venetian Republic. His 3-volume history of the Byzantine Empire, titled Byzantium, the Early Centuries, and Byzantium, the Apogee, remains a classic to this day. At different points in his career, Norwich appeared on British television and radio as a presenter and commentator on historical topics. This further cemented his reputation as a charismatic public intellectual. Norwich married twice and had 2 legitimate children. So to tie all this nicely, Norwich was eventually Elliot. This connection was not publicly acknowledged during his lifetime, but it came to light through Allegra's memoir, Love Child. Despite being her biological father, Norwich did not play a significant role in Allegra's upbringing. If you made it this far, do hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates from us.
I'm out of here. Happy birthday, bitch. Let me eat, I'm starving.
Prince Hansel, I love you. This is the best birthday.
2. Damien Hurley. Damien Hurley is the son of British actress Elizabeth Hurley and, yes, it might come as a shock, American businessman Steve Bing. But we will get to that in a moment. Hurley has lived a life marked by privilege, glamour, and controversy. As the child of a highly publicized relationship and a contentious legal battle over paternity, Damien's life reflects the complexities of growing up as an illicit Hollywood love child. Despite these challenges, he has carved out his own identity in the entertainment industry as a model and actor. As you can imagine, there is so much more to this story. So, let's begin with his high-profile birth. Damien Charles Hurley was born on April 4, 2002, into the media spotlight. His mother, Elizabeth Hurley, is a celebrated actress and model known for her roles in films like Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, and her long-standing association with Estee Lauder. Raised primarily by his mother, Damien was exposed to the glamour of Hollywood and high society from an early age. His upbringing included appearances at star-studded events and close connections to celebrity friends of his mother, including Hugh Grant and Elton John. Damien has been a subject of media fascination since birth, partly due to his striking resemblance to his mother and his resemblance to the youthful Hollywood elite. His polished and glamorous image has contributed to his growing fame in recent years. Damien launched a career in modeling in his late teens, quickly gaining recognition for his unique look. By unique, we mean his long hair and androgynous features. He even signed with IMG Models, a prestigious agency representing top-tier talent. In 2020, he appeared in a high-profile campaign for Pat McGrath Labs, cementing his status as a rising star in the fashion industry. He has also dabbled in the acting scene. Damien made his acting debut in the television series The Royals, a drama in which his mother starred. Though his acting career has been limited, it shows his interest in following in his mother's footsteps in the entertainment world. Now, the thing is, Steve Bing initially denied this paternity. He claimed that the relationship with Hurley was casual and could not have produced a child. However, a DNA test confirmed Bing as Damien's biological father. This led to a public and bitter feud. Imagine that Bing strongly resisted being involved in Damien's life. It gets even more controversial. In 2019, Damien became involved in a legal dispute when his paternal grandfather, Dr. Peter Bing, tried to exclude him and his half-sister Kira Kerkorian, Steve Bing's daughter with tennis player Lisa Bonder, from a family trust. Grandpa argued that both children were born out of wedlock. At the end of the day, the court eventually ruled in Damien's favor. Damien's relationship with his father, Steve Bing, remained distant throughout his life. Sadly, Bing's tragic suicide in 2020 added another layer of complexity to Damien's family story. Despite his father's absence, Damien has expressed gratitude for the strong bond he shares with his mother and her support system of close friends. Like many children of celebrities, Damien has had to contend with intense media attention, speculation, and scrutiny of his personal life. His ability to maintain a polished public image actually suggests a carefully managed career strategy. Damien has embraced his celebrity lineage, leveraging his connections and striking appearance to build a career in fashion and entertainment. His close relationship with his mother and her guidance have helped him navigate the industry's challenges. With a burgeoning career and a strong social media presence, Damien has the potential to expand his influence in the fashion and entertainment worlds. There's no denying that his androgynous appeal aligns with the growing demand for diverse representation in these industries.
That's all you have?
Yes,
What do you think you can do with that?
plenty.
I am your wife. And this is your home, but I'm not like you. You slept very well last night, huh?
1. Roberto Ingmar Rossellini. Sometime in the late 1940s and early 1950s, beloved actress Ingrid Bergman became the center of a scandal that shook Hollywood. The scandal in question would be the infamous extramarital affair with Italian director Roberto Rossellini. Ingrid Bergman was one of Hollywood's most revered actresses, known for her roles in classics such as Casablanca and Gaslight. Her image was that of a wholesome, virtuous woman, both on and off the screen. But as you can see, this affair had significant repercussions both professionally and personally for Bergman. But while filming the 1950 film Stromboli, Bergman began an affair with director Rossellini. At the time, Bergman was married to Dr. Peter Lindstrom, with whom she had a daughter. Rossellini was also married, so you can imagine that the relationship quickly became a highly publicized scandal. The affair and Bergman's subsequent pregnancy out of wedlock were met with moral outrage. The entire affair was seen as a betrayal of her perceived purity, not to mention the sanctity of her marriage. A U.S. Senator, Edwin C. Johnson, went so far as to denounce Bergman. A powerful influence for evil, he called her, and thereafter condemned her as a disgrace to the institution of marriage. Her career in Hollywood suffered significantly as well. Studios were reluctant to hire her, and she faced widespread condemnation from the press and public alike. Bergman moved to Italy to be with Rossellini. They got married and went on to have 3 children. But this is not the happy ending you may be expecting. Their marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1957. This brings us to Roberto Ingmar Rossellini. Born on February 2, 1950, he is the son of Italian neorealist film director Roberto Rossellini and Swedish actress Ingrid Bergman. His life as an illicit love child is deeply tied to the public scandal surrounding his parents' affair, which shook Hollywood and Europe in the 1940s and 1950s. Let's take a deep dive to truly understand his life and how it was shaped by the controversial union of 2 cinematic icons. As a plus, you would discover his unique place in Hollywood and European film history. To begin with, Roberto Ingmar Rossellini was born in Rome shortly after Stromboli premiered. His birth was a public event covered by tabloids and criticized by conservative voices. His parents' union was both celebrated and vilified, placing Roberto in the public eye from the moment he was born. Roberto grew up under the shadow of his parents' fame and the moral judgment of society. The pressure of being a child of 2 legendary figures, coupled with the stigma surrounding their relationship, created a unique environment. Raised between Italy and Sweden, Roberto was exposed to different cultural attitudes towards his parents' controversial relationship. In Europe, their union was often seen as a passionate collaboration between 2 artists, while in Hollywood, it was viewed as a scandal. Both Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini were larger-than-life figures known for their uncompromising dedication to art. As a result, Roberto had to navigate his identity in relation to their towering reputations. Unlike his famous parents, Roberto Ingmar Rossellini did not pursue a career in the public eye or in the entertainment industry. Unlike his sisters, Isabella Rossellini, who became an acclaimed actress and model, and Pia Lindstrom, a prominent journalist, Roberto remained largely private. Though he did not become a filmmaker or actor, Roberto's life was undoubtedly shaped by the artistic sensibilities of his parents. The values of creativity, passion, and independence that defined Bergman and Rossellini's careers likely influenced his personal perspective. By the time Roberto came of age, the perception of his parents' relationship had shifted. The scandal that once dominated the headlines began to be reframed as a romantic and artistic partnership that defied societal norms. Roberto's existence became a testament to the resilience of love and art in the face of condemnation. Remember the scandalous love affair that birthed a very impressive professional collaboration between Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. It was just as groundbreaking as it was controversial. Their partnership spanned the late 1940s to the mid-1950s, producing films that explored themes of alienation, spirituality, and human connection. These works are often credited with bridging the gap between Italian neorealism and modern European art cinema. The truth is, Bergman was already a major Hollywood star before the affair, and she was the one who reached out to Rossellini in admiration of his work on Rome, Open City, and Paisa. Their collaboration then began with the production of Stromboli, which coincided with their infamous affair. Notably, the scandal overshadowed films in the US, and Bergman was ostracized for her relationship with Rossellini, who was then married. Bergman and Rossellini sought to move beyond Hollywood's polished productions to create raw, emotionally charged films that explored human vulnerability. Together, their subsequent work emphasized realism, authenticity, and introspection, often focusing on isolated characters grappling with profound internal and external conflicts. Let's briefly go over a couple of them, shall we? In Stromboli, Bergman plays Karen, a Lithuanian refugee who marries a fisherman to escape an internment camp but struggles to adapt to life on a volcanic island. This film represents a cornerstone of Italian neorealism. Stromboli blended documentary-style realism with a deeply personal narrative. While it was critically divisive, it has since been recognized as a bold departure from Hollywood conventions. In Europe 51, Bergman portrays Irene, a wealthy woman who becomes disillusioned with her privileged life after her son's death. Irene also devotes herself to helping the poor, ultimately being institutionalized in the end. This film marked a shift toward more overtly political and spiritual storytelling. Bergman's performance was widely praised, and the film is now considered one of Rossellini's masterpieces. 1954's Journey to Italy is another masterpiece. It centers around a British couple, played by Bergman and George Sanders, that travels to Italy to settle an inheritance. Unfortunately, their marriage unravels amid existential crises and encounters with Italian culture. Though initially dismissed by critics, Journey to Italy is now hailed as a seminal work of modernist cinema and a precursor to directors like Michelangelo Antonioni and Jean-Luc Godard. That same year, they turned out Fear. In this German-language thriller, Bergman plays a woman entangled in blackmail and infidelity, set against a backdrop of post-war anxiety. Fear is considered one of the more experimental collaborations between Bergman and Rossellini, blending neorealism with elements of Hitchcockian suspense. See a pattern here? Their films often dealt with existential struggles, human alienation, and spiritual redemption. It was almost always a case of neorealism meets personal drama. Rossellini's neorealist techniques and documentary-style approach, combined with Bergman's emotional intensity, created a new kind of cinema. Many of their films featured Bergman as a foreigner or outsider. We believe it to be a reflection of her real-life position as a Hollywood star in Italy. At the time of release, many of their films were commercial failures and polarizing among critics. Rossellini's minimalist, introspective style was a stark contrast to Hollywood's glamour, which alienated mainstream audiences. But in later decades, critics and filmmakers reevaluated their work, recognizing its profound impact on art cinema. Directors like François Truffaut and Jean-Luc Godard cited Journey to Italy as a major influence on the French New Wave. By the mid-1950s, the Bergman-Rossellini marriage began to unravel due to personal differences and career pressures. Their professional collaboration ended as Bergman returned to Hollywood, rebuilding her career with critically acclaimed performances like Anastasia in 1956. Despite their split, both Bergman and Rossellini spoke highly of their work together, acknowledging its artistic significance and the way it pushed the boundaries of cinema. As the eldest child of the Rossellini-Bergman union, Roberto likely played a unique role within a family defined by strong personalities and international fame. His siblings, especially Isabella and Ingrid Jr., often spoke of their admiration for their parents' legacy, which undoubtedly shaped their family's identity. As the child of two iconic figures, Roberto was born into a world of expectations and judgment. His relatively quiet life contrasts with the public roles embraced by some of his siblings. This suggests that he might have sought distance from the pressures of celebrity life. Shocked by any of these cases? Do share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. You also can't miss the next video on screen.